Alright guys, so today's a really cool video. I think a lot of you are going to enjoy it. It's on the swinging topspin forehand volley, okay? And you know, back when I was growing up, a lot of people said, don't really use that. Then Agassi came around and now pretty much all coaches say it's a good idea on the right shots. This is actually a request from one of our YouTube subscribers, and he's also following some of my courses, Steve Shaver. So and I hope I pronounced that name right, but this one's for you, buddy. And first of all, let's talk about, before we get into technique, I'm going to show you the technique on this in a second, but let's think about when to use this shot. This is after you hit probably a pretty good ball and your opponent's on the run and they've come with a floaty shot. A lot of times when you're hitting this mid-court volley, this is usually going to be hit on a mid-court volley. That's when most people hit it. If that ball is kind of coming with some pace and higher, we want you to block that ball. So when the ball is coming faster and higher, I recommend that you block it. Not to say that sometimes the pros don't come in on a pretty hard ball up here and they crush it and make that shot. But I'm going to advise that you see it kind of going up, starting to dip. You don't want it to get too low. Once it starts to get down here too, it becomes very hard to make this shot. Again, not to say that some of you can't do that. But I think the sweet spot is right here to right here, right above your shorts, or for ladies out there, right above your skirt. And that's when you can really crush that ball. All right, so I'm going to demo a couple and then talk you through it with a little video analysis. So you're going to enjoy this. So the first thing we're going to look at on the swinging forehand volley is what not to do. Okay, so this shot is going to look very nice. All right, it looks pretty good. Look at that. Beautiful stroke, I think, right? But what you don't want to be doing is when you're hitting this shot is having this nice long looking follow through over the shoulder. I think what we want to be doing is doing more of a windshield wiper type motion so that ball can go up and down in a hurry. Remember, since I'm standing here and there's a lot of court behind me, our swing has to be shorter because there's not as much court in front of me, obviously. All right, so let's get into what we want to be doing on this shot. So first thing we're going to be looking at is where do we want to be hitting this ball? Ideally, we want this ball at our chest to our waist. If the ball is below any of these areas, I think we got to go more with a traditional, continental grip and low volley. If it gets up here, again, especially if it's moving, if it's moving fairly fast, again, that's where you want to block the ball and move into the net. All right, so here comes the ball, and now watch how I'm getting under the ball, so you can see the ball is clearly above my racket right now, and then up to it, and then through. You can see when I'm making contact here, the strings are slightly facing towards the ground, a little slightly towards the ground. See, I'm coming up to the ball, though, getting that top spin, still reaching out through the shot. Okay, so that's another thing that people get confused, is because we want a shorter, kind of finish. Doesn't mean that we still don't need to be reaching out towards our target. You can see I'm clearly still reaching out towards the target, right? I'm just not looping right around. I'm reaching out. You can see that arm is reaching out forward, and then I'm going to be coming around the shot like that, and then we can see that the finish is over here pretty low instead of the traditional around the shoulder finish. If I do have to take that ball higher, one thing that's interesting is notice how my racket head is still pretty low compared to the ball that's up here. Because this ball, you'll see, I'm going to take quite a bit higher, right? So I'm coming under, but then up to it. And then watch how much more the strings are now turning and facing down so I can put that ball down in the court, because it's very tough to get this ball to go in if you kind of swing even with it. So look how I'm really forcing those strings down, and then again a big windshield wipe finish down here to make that ball go down into the court. So that's if you get stuck taking a higher ball and you decide you're still going to swing through it. Now let's take a look at it from a different angle and also the different directionals, right? Lots of times when you're going to come up, you're going to hit this ball inside out. You see how that's more down the line, right? And then we can also hit this shot cross court. All right, and I want you to notice the difference when I'm hitting this shot, kind of the way my racket head moves and then the way I kind of balance myself afterwards. So as I'm going to hit inside out, you can see here I'm getting set, really laying that racket head back, hitting. You can see the angle of the racket. Let's kind of close in there. You can see the racket head angle pushing out, but then watch how my balance kind of falls away from the target. Look how that shoulder kind of falls away off, and I land and put most of my weight over here on this foot, okay? And you can see that everything is kind of moving over here at the end. Now, let's take a look at the next shot when I'm going to hit cross court. Now watch how my feet immediately start to come. We start to move. Let me get a pointer here for everybody. I'm going to be coming this way. Okay, see how I'm coming this way with my feet right now as I'm hitting? They kind of trade positions, and most of my weight when I'm done is over, let me just clear, is over here. You can see that most of my weight. Let's get a close-up. Sorry, let me just clear this out. Let's get a close-up. Let me back it away. Here we go. So we'll come here. I'm hitting this shot, and you can see how I'm getting the air, and everything's moving this way. And then when I finish, most of the weight still seems to be set on this leg right here, but then I use this to recover and get ready right back on the toes. Alright, so we'll take a look at a couple hitting in regular speed. Now, as I'm hitting regular speed, the one thing I want you to watch is my footwork, okay? I'm getting older, so I'm not as fast as I used to be. One thing I do remind myself is always stay on your toes, stay in a rhythm. You can see as I'm hitting these balls, I'm actually in a pretty nice hitting rhythm. This is a difficult shot. I'm not really missing any, and that's because my legs are moving. If I were to just stand here and just try and demo for you, I probably would be reacting late and missing more balls. So that's another thing, guys. Always stay on your toes. I cannot tell you how much easier it is to play tennis when you do that. All right, guys, so there you go. There's your tip on the swinging topspin forehand. Remember, you want to use it intelligently. It's easy to see that ball floating up there and thinking you're just going to crush it. Make sure your feet are really set up. Make sure that you can really time it out, that the ball is not moving too fast or too high or too low. That's when you want to go to more of a traditional volley with a continental grip. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Like it if you like it. Certainly ask any questions. I'll be sure to get back to you. And subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my future instructional videos. Thanks so much, and good luck with your tennis out there.